In the frozen fields of Ukraine, history's largest stockpile of Soviet military might is disappearing at an unprecedented rate. According to Euromaidan Press, the weapons that Kremlin generals spent a generation accumulating for a decisive confrontation with NATO are instead being consumed in a war of attrition that has already depleted more than half of Russia's available hardware. The war, Europe's bloodiest since World War II, is burning through tanks, artillery and armored vehicles faster than the Russian military industry can replace them. By 2026, military experts predict these critical shortages will force Moscow to either end the war or fundamentally reimagine how to wage it. An investigation by The Insider revealed the scale of this military erosion, documenting how Soviet military power, once thought inexhaustible, now faces a countdown to depletion. Since the start of the invasion, the military tracking project Oryx has documented stark disparities in hardware losses. Russia has lost over 20,000 units compared to Ukraine's 7,600. In armored vehicles alone, Russian losses triple Ukraine's 11,600 versus 3,800. Among completely destroyed equipment, Russia has lost 2,600 tanks, 1,900 APCs and 4,100 infantry fighting vehicles, while Ukraine's losses stand at 700, 800 and 900 respectively. Artillery losses show similar patterns, with Russia losing nearly 2,000 systems. About half of Russia's lost equipment comes from Soviet-era stockpiles. Other databases like War Spotting and Lost Armor report similar trends, though methodological challenges exist. These include potential duplicate counts of repaired vehicles and unverified losses without visual evidence. Recent combat data reveals evolving patterns. During Ukraine's 2024 Kursk offensive, forces lost approximately 10 tanks and 35 armored vehicles monthly. In contrast, Russia's ongoing Pokrovsk offensive shows monthly losses of 40 tanks and over 80 armored vehicles. Russia faces mounting challenges in replacing its battlefield losses, with current production woefully inadequate for the war's demands. The numbers tell a stark story. Russia manufactures only 250 T-90M tanks and 460 BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles annually, less than half of what it's losing in operations like Avdiivka and Pokrovsk. Among infantry fighting vehicles, the BMP-3 is the only Russian IFV still in mass production, while the modern BTR-82 APC line manages just 300 to 400 units annually, including modernized, older models. The situation with Soviet-era stockpiles, long Russia's strategic reserve, is equally dire. Satellite imagery from late 2024 reveals just 41 to 52% of pre-war reserves remain, most in poor condition. The usable inventory has shrunk to approximately 2,000 tanks, 2,000 IFVs and 3,000 APCs, a dramatic decline from the Soviet Union's 1990 arsenal of 63,900 tanks and 76,500 armored vehicles. Many remaining tanks are obsolete, T-62s, while some vehicle categories like the MT-LB are completely depleted. Production faces critical bottlenecks, particularly in artillery manufacturing, where barrel production has become a key constraint. Military analyst Andriy Karasenko warns Russia's repairable equipment reserves could be exhausted within 12 to 18 months unless production increases to 700 to 1,000 armored vehicles annually, a target the current industrial base cannot meet. Replacing losses with newly built vehicles is impossible without unconventional solutions, such as purchasing old equipment from countries like India or launching an unprecedented new industrialization, he explains. The problem extends beyond production numbers to repair capacity. Russia's armored repair facilities struggle with technological limitations and poor quality control. The situation is so dire that 2 to 3 decommissioned vehicles most often be cannibalized to restore a single operational unit. Throughout the war, the Kremlin has effectively been fighting on credit, as equipment deliveries have never matched battlefield losses. Ukraine has developed a more resilient approach, combining captured Russian equipment, Western military aid, and Soviet-era vehicles from allied nations. Initially benefiting from abandoned Russian hardware, Kyiv now relies primarily on Western support and domestic production. Western intelligence suggests that if combat intensity continues, Russia will face critical equipment shortages by early 2026, potentially forcing a strategic shift. Armored vehicles and artillery scarcity are dramatically slowing territorial advances on both sides. While drones and loitering munitions have transformed warfare, they cannot replace traditional artillery support needed for effective offensive operations.
President Donald Trump is hosting Jordan's King Abdullah II at the White House on Tuesday as he escalates pressure on the Arab nation to take in refugees from Gaza, perhaps permanently, as part of his audacious plan to remake the Middle East. According to Associated Press, Trump also has proposed the U.S. take control of Gaza and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, with Palestinians in the war-torn territory pushed into neighboring nations with no right of return. The visit is happening at a perilous moment for the ongoing ceasefire in Gaza as Hamas, accusing Israel of violating the truce, has said it is pausing future releases of hostages, and as Trump has called for Israel to resume fighting if all those remaining in captivity are not freed by this weekend.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have King Abdullah with us. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, actually, long before even my first term. And we've had a great relationship. He's a great gentleman, a great leader, and does a fantastic job in his country. His son, we're lucky enough to have his handsome son with us today, so it's good to see you again. We've had some quick discussions just now, and we're going to have some longer discussions after this. And the relationship with Jordan has been very strong, has been with me, and really has been with the country. But I think I've been closer than other presidents to Jordan and what Jordan represents. And it's an honor to have you and your son with us today. And if you'd like to say a few words, and thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you very much for having us, and so short after your inauguration, I think just as a testament to what you said is a special relationship between our two countries and the personal relationship of friendship and trust between the two of us. Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here, and as you said, sir, we've got some very interesting discussions ahead of us.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much.
Why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something to say, because we discussed just briefly, I think maybe you want to say it now, or?
Well, Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. And obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on Gaza challenges.
I didn't know that, what you just said, 2,000 children with cancer or other problems, and that's really a beautiful gesture. That's really good, and we appreciate it. And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. 3 of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble. And I know we'll be able to work something also with I believe, not 100%, but 99%, we're going to work out something with Egypt.